We'll have about 4 after, so I think we will get started. Again, welcome everyone to our Workforce Wednesday webinar on innovative education and career pathways for the ECE, Early Care and Education Workforce. We're really excited to have you all here. Again, please keep using that chat box to make sure this is an interactive experience where you can have your questions answered and share what's going on in your arena around supports for the education workforce. I'm really excited to have Dr. Ruth Friedman, the Director of the Office of Child Care, here joining us for a welcome, as well as Dr. Bernadine Futrell, who is the Director of the Office of Head Start, joining us. We are so appreciative of both of your supports for the early care education workforce, not only through policy, but also through the practice of supporting the National TA Centers in delivering TA. So thank you for being here, and I'm going to pass it to you, Ruth.
Thank you very much. Good morning and good afternoon, everybody, depending on where you are. It's nice seeing so many different areas of the country showing up in the chat, some familiar names and faces. I'm really happy to be here with you guys. This webinar, I think, is really timely and incredibly important. So I want to thank you for attending, and on behalf of the Office of Early Childhood Development, the Office of Child Care, and the Office of Head Start, just reaffirm to you that we are committed to addressing the shortage of qualified ECE teachers across all ECE settings. We know that ECE professionals have many potential pathways to gain the degrees and credentials, which research demonstrates will lead to better outcomes for children. But whatever the pathway, if the knowledge and coaching received are focused on the same or similar competencies and delivered in ways that really meet the unique needs of the educator, then any route can lead to competent and supported educators. And we know how valuable and important this is for children. All individuals, whether they have years of experience or are new to the profession, or are participating in an apprenticeship or a high school ECE training program, can benefit from the innovative practice-based curriculums and video-assisted coaching models that you're going to hear about today. The Early EdU Alliance and the coaching companion programs we're going to hear about today can be adapted to ECE professional development needs at all levels of experience and in any settings. The Office of Child Care and the Office of Head Start jointly funded the original grants that designed the concept for these innovative and adaptable supports. We also want to thank the states who will share how they will have adapted the programs to their unique state and higher education system needs on the webinar today. As a result of their work, the interest in this approach has increased, and ECE leaders, policymakers, and program administrators are seeking information about innovative education and career pathways that they can implement in their states and localities. So just such an important webinar today. The list of positive impacts these innovative pathways can have on the ECE field is long. Here are just a few of the impacts that we're excited about today. I think the screen has not been moved forward. The slides have not been moved forward, but that is okay. We can go forward. Educational opportunities and career development for the ECE workforce, innovative options that may meet the unique demands of the workforce, and engagement in quality rating and improvement systems, and expanded access to quality improvement services. So a lot of paths forward, such an urgent need. I know we continue to hear about the struggles across the country, making sure that we have enough of a workforce to meet the needs of kids and families. And with that, I am delighted to hand it to my colleague, Dr. Bernadine Futrell with the Office of Head Start.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Dr. Friedman. Hopeful people can hear me okay. Thank you so much for all of you for putting together this opportunity to have this panel to talk about innovative education, career pathways, and outcomes. It's such important work, and it's even more important that we do it together. And so I want to recognize and thank all of you for being a part of that. I also want to recognize as we celebrate Asian American Pacific Islander Month as well. I'm Dr. Futrell. I'm the director of the Office of Head Start. And as I just said, super excited that this webinar will really kick off and ignite conversations around the work and the activity around innovation and education and career pathways that really helps all of us discover how we can use the valuable tools in our workforce development in different pathways. Because we're all coming in this together with the same end goal in mind, and how we work together to get there is what this conversation is about. We are in unprecedented times, and we know that not only is it important to recruit and retain qualified staff, it's also important to make the time and the investments into developing and supporting everybody within our ECE workforce as leaders and supporting their passion and their commitment to really connecting with children and families. And that's what this work is about. For Head Start, we are lifting up the importance and the value of our hard work. We say, hey, Head Start is hard work because that's what it is. The work of Head Start, the work of childcare, the work that we do at ECF does not end when the day ends or you clock out or when you log off. It continues because we're creating the future. We're investing in families, investing in communities, investing in our youngest learners, our youngest humans, the people that are going to carry us forward to a higher place. And we want to make sure we do that right because it's such an important responsibility. And that's why we call it hard work, because we're recognizing that no matter what we've gone through, again, we always have the same path forward that we're looking to make an impact for. So I commend you and I thank you for raising your hand to say, I want to be a part of that, what I think is the most important work that anyone gets to do, and that's working with early childhood education. The next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the positive. I just want to highlight some of the positive impacts, and then before we turn you over to these wonderful colleagues who have partnered with ACF and others to really continue to push and nudge around innovative career and education pathways. Some of the positive things that we're very excited about is, one, having a well-qualified workforce helps to increase access for children and families. That is the priority. How do we remove barriers? How do we make sure that every child, like we define equity as ensuring that every child has equitable access to the highest quality program that they could have? For Head Start, I would insert Head Start in that sentence. But that's the work that we are committed to. And program leadership must implement not only policies and procedures that really help to provide, the nuts and bolts of the work, but also support staff in their continuous improvement and their development, that lifelong learning and connection to continuing to grow and connect. And that's the work that we do. The second thing I just want to lift up is the topic of financial stability and sustainability for the workforce. Our workforce deserves a livable wage. That's the end of that sentence, because they're human. Yes, it also benefits children, but because they are human and because they deserve to be compensated for the work that they do. And so we are committed to identifying ways to really support and lead there, and really making sure that not only that we promote the necessary opportunities, but also taking a look at what things we can do to really support that. But I want to make that point clear. Our workforce deserves to be compensated in a way that reflects not only the work they do today, but the work that they are doing to create that future that I talked about earlier. And the other point is improving the quality and enhancing child outcomes. We know that every person working in a child care program, they have a critical role. I am a parent. My kids are 7 and 9, so they're a little bit older than most of our Head Start children. But I look at them and I look at those strong relationships that they have developed with their child care, Miss Dottie, with their teachers, with their preschool, wherever they've been, because they have invested in my children. And I want to make sure that we're able to take what people like Ms. Dottie have learned and pour that back into a system that can benefit other children, not just the ones who Ms. Dottie has been able to be connected with. So that's a part of it. How do we make sure that every individual working in childcare, that they have a connection to networking and being able to build and work together and sharing effective practices. And then the final is building and retaining a well-qualified workforce and increasing services for children and families. Bottom line, we have to build infrastructure to serve and support children and families. Right now, if every child who's eligible from the range of youth, from early Head Start to our older child care children, if they were to raise their hand, their parents would say, I want to put my child in a program right now. We don't have a space. We don't have a seat. And so we need to spend this time developing and supporting this well-qualified and trained workforce so that as families continue to be connected to this system, the life system of child care and education, you fill in your program, that we're ready not only to receive them, but also at a high quality and a high rate. And so I'm so looking forward to, on behalf of the Office of Head Start, we are looking forward to your work, hearing about the success, lifting up and elevating some of the things that you're learning, and then also being able to just champion the cause of our early care and education workforce. I thank you so much for your leadership and your partnership, and we are committed to doing this with you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Laura Johns at the National Center on Early Childhood Quality Assurance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Petrell, for those remarks. We so appreciate you taking the time away from your national conference, I believe is what's in the background for you. So thank you for joining us. So next slide, please. So again, I'm Laura Johns with the National Center on Early Childhood Quality Assurance. I'm the project director there. And we are really excited to bring to you this next Workforce Wednesday webinar, sponsored by the Rapid Response TA Collaborative, which was put together by the Office of Child Care, the Office of Early Childhood Development, the Office of Head Start, to bring all the national TA centers and our partners working on ECE workforce-related issues so that we can work together to respond to your needs with technical assistance and resources to support your local efforts on innovative strategies to support the workforce. So through this Rapid Response Collaborative, we have monthly webinars, we have monthly e-blasts that really focus on resources to support you, and there is a brand new ECD workforce webpage that curates not only resources, but also very soon innovative practices that are going on around strategies to support the workforce, whether they be wages and compensation strategies, professional development strategies, or additional supports like family child care networks, infant toddler networks, apprenticeships. So we're really excited to have you all and to share additional resources with you on one Wednesday per month. So next slide. We're going to do a quick poll just to see where people are around this work, this important work. So we'll launch this poll. We're interested in seeing if those of you on the call are currently on a team that is fully implementing, beginning to implement, considering some ideas or other, these innovative workforce initiatives. So let us know where you are in your stage of development around supporting workforce. And then that second poll is wondering how many people on the phone are educators who are participating in a workforce initiative. Maybe you're a family child care provider who's being supported through Teach, or maybe you are a Head Start provider, educator who is in an amazing online professional development course. Or maybe you're in a higher ed course online. So we're interested in finding out what you're participating in or if you're participating in those. So we'll give it another second and then we'll let Sarah show us the results. And thank you, all of you, for as you were logging in, giving us a little bit about your background and what you're working on. Keep using that chat to comment and share. So let's see what the poll results say. So about 45% of you are considering implementing an innovative workforce initiative. So you are in the absolute right place. I see Jennifer Olson shaking her head. You're all in the right place because we're going to share some ideas with you, but we're also going to make sure that you have resources to help you think about options. And then remember, the National TA Centers on both the Office of Head Start side and the Office of Child Care side, we're here to support you. So we're also going to make sure you know how to get in touch with us. And it looks like many of you, 61%, are not yet participating in an innovative workforce initiative. We encourage you to look towards your state, your territory, your tribe, find out what's happening around workforce initiatives and get involved and participate. So thank you, Sarah, for launching that poll. So with that, I would love to turn this over to our amazing panelists. So I'll first, Katie, pass it off to you. Thank you, Katie. Looking forward to having you represent the National Center on Development, Teaching and Learning in supporting the rest of the webinar.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Laura. And thank you to all of the people welcoming us here today and the participants. We really appreciate having you here to talk with us and share your expertise as well. So I am Katie Miller, and I'm with the National Center on Early Childhood Development, Teaching and Learning, or DTL for short, since we have kind of a long name. And we support the Office of Head Start programs and staff around the country. And I am specifically engaged in a lot of workforce development work. So I'm really excited to be a part of this panel and this topic. And I will turn it over to my colleague, Jennifer, to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Olson, and I'm with the Parent Family Community Engagement Center. And I'm just thrilled to be here and to be part of this webinar. And we'll be talking a little bit later about apprenticeships and some other wonderful resources we have for you from our two centers. Allison, how about I send the microphone to you?
Thanks, Jennifer. Allison Dean here from the Early Edu Alliance. Happy to be here today and looking forward to sharing some of the state innovations that we've been lucky enough to be a part of.
Great, thank you all so much. On the next slide, we just want to go over just a little bit of an overview of the topics we'll cover today. Obviously, we can't cover everything in the innovative education and career pathways that's out there, but we want to give you a little highlight, and then we'll also engage in a few additional resources so that you can go and explore more on your own, as well as ask our panelists some specific questions if anything comes to mind. So on the next slide, we want to give you a little introduction to what we want to talk about in terms of early childhood education and career pathways. So in most professions, there's a defined pathway for career advancement, as well as a defined entry point in the field. So our goal in the early childhood profession is that anyone who wants to become an early childhood educator at any designation has equitable access to affordable, high-quality professional preparation and development that supports them in developing the agreed-upon set of knowledge, skills, and competencies that are needed in any setting. And this is shared also by the Power to the Profession movement. So in order to do this, we really have to dismantle some institutional and structural barriers that exist everywhere. And that can be anything from federal funding formulas to institutions of higher education, in order to avoid deepening or perpetuating some of those existing divisions and inequities, even as we work to eliminate them. So that's really kind of a big task, but I think it's a really important goal. So our next slide here. Thank you so much. So we want to share with this visualization some of our ideas about what we mean by pathways to demonstrate consistent competency. There, of course, what people think of first is often a traditional degree, and that is definitely a pathway into the early childhood career and professions. But often we experience, or our people within our profession experience, some barriers for non-traditional educators. That could include cost, time available. If the professionals are currently working in the education field, they might have trouble having access to high quality degree programs. There might be a lack of program options, especially in rural or underserved areas. We also might experience some challenges to relevance. You heard Dr. Freeman talk about local and state priorities, as well as potential differences in cultural and linguistic relevance. So these are just a couple of the challenges that we might be experiencing. We also have a question of if the program effectiveness is high. So is the program competency-based? And does it have relevance for the context in which the educators are working? So obviously a lot of factors go into these ideas of what we could do to address these challenges to the pathways. So the reality is that the workforce might have some combination of all of these or elements from each that they weave together, but whatever the pathway, if the professional development is focused on the same or similar competencies, but delivered in ways that meet the unique needs of the educator, then any route can lead to competent and supported educators. So some of the innovative pathways that could help address these barriers could be job-embedded apprenticeships, teacher residencies, stackable credentials, such as micro-credentials that might be based on a specific skill or competency, educators with a related degree or a degree but that need to learn some new skills, or they might work on credentials and degrees from one step to the next, such as from an early childhood certificate to a CDA to an associate's or an associate's to a bachelor's degree. So obviously there's lots of potential of what we could do with this and how we could spend our energy and our efforts to improve this system. We also consider that in a training pathway, training in some of the competency areas to state innovations might be supportive of this work. We could also consider training used as a stepping stone to credentials and degrees. We'll share some of those resources later. And also they could be used to skill up or enhance skills for those people who already have degrees. So we're always continuously learning. That's who we are as educators. And also that training could be used to embed state or local priority content. So these are just a few, like obviously that's a lot of information. These are just a few of the elements of the pathways, the support that we hope to continue to improve upon. And on our next slide, I'm going to turn it over to Allison Dean, as she mentioned from the Early EdU Alliance, to share with us some of the really innovative and outstanding work that's been done by some of the states across the nation in collaboration with the Early EdU.
Thanks, Katie. So happy to be here and just share a little bit of what we've learned from the states that we have partnered with. I want to start just by acknowledging what Dr. Freeman started us off with, which is that the Early EdU Alliance is really the result of decades and more of work that has been funded by both the Office of Child Care and the Office of Head Start. Masterminds well before I joined this project came together and said, how can we really bring together what we are learning from Head Start and child care programs across the country in terms of their need in the field, in practice, day to day, and what they also need to be focused on in pathways to degrees and credentials. So the melding of those two things became Early EdU Alliance, a product of several national TA centers, including most recently DTL, which is where Katie works. And they have thought about things like putting specific pieces of the Early EdU model, including professional development modules on ECL-CASE. We've also worked with DTL to put the Head Start Coaching Companion up and available on ECL-CASE, as well as Early Educator Central. So just really thinking about what pieces of the model can be leveraged for folks across the country. Next slide, please. So this is our mission statement, really very similar to what all of us are committed to, just really thinking about how to collaborate with early childhood experts and stakeholders from higher ed, government agencies, community organizations to really meet the workforce where they are and provide equitable and high quality pathways to degrees. The focus of Early EdU is to break down barriers of accessibility, affordability, and relevance for the current and prospective workforce. And we do that by partnering, as I said, with states and institutions of higher ed. Next slide, please. So this is just a visual that represents our model. Early EdU itself does not deliver courses directly. We are not a degree granting program, although in some states and with some organizations, we do deliver content if that is what they need. But really the model is to partner with a state and provide flexible, customized solutions that work. So that means that while we have a host of 20 plus fully developed courses, those can be modified, adapted, and used by states to fit their unique context. We don't want to be in competitions with states or institutions of higher ed. We want to support them with high quality resources. So to that end, we've developed in-person and online courses. We have a large repository of professional development resources that can be embedded in existing systems. And we have a very large media library with a catalog of video and other competency-based assets that can be put into those delivery models. Next slide, please. So I want to spend a little bit of time on this slide because it's really at the heart of early early EdU and our approach. So that is a competency-based educator model. And a lot of times the word competency-based is used and people, it could mean lots of different things, right? There are many models out there. But this model really leverages three pedagogical strategies: video analysis, formative feedback, and collaborative learning. And that happens within our courses. So video analysis is used. Students create a baseline video at the start of a course. They upload a midpoint video for formative feedback from a faculty member or instructor or trainer who acts as a learning facilitator or a coach within the course. And they also use a collaborative learning approach by uploading that video or looking at video exemplars with a peer group. And then at the end of the course, they do a final upload of a video to show their growth and to demonstrate the competencies that they have learned as part of the course. So that's a fairly unique model, but it's all built on this intentional framework in the middle, which is known, which we've sort of termed as know, see, do, reflect, and improve. And that might be familiar to many of our Head Start audience today. Those also undergird the 15-minute in-service suites and other resources that are on ECLKC. And they really are focused on putting the heart of teaching practice in the center of everything we do. Next slide, please. So this is how it works. We provide, Early EdU Alliance provides the free competency-based content. As I said, we have more than 20 courses now that we can either host on our own Early EdU Canvas for a state or a PD organization, or those courses can be embedded in a state or PD organization's existing LMS. We also have face-to-face courses if that is something that a state prefers. The courses within the Canvas modules include the competency-based assignments already built in, but institutions of higher ed can also have sort of a standalone version of a coaching companion that links to an existing LMS. So if you don't use Canvas, if your institution of higher ed uses Moodle or Blackboard or some other LMS, you can still host the competency-based coaching companion assignments in those systems. All of the content, reading materials, articles, resources are included in the courses, so there are zero textbook costs for these courses. For the professional development modules, we chunk out some of that content into about 3 to 5 hours of training, again, including the videos. And then, as I said, the media library, which if you join the Alliance and you simply want access to that library to embed high quality video in courses you've developed, that's an option as well. We have teacher-child interactions in those videos. We have interviews with experts, all sorts of loose parts. And I see the question in the chat about are they aligned? And yes, they are aligned with the NACCE competencies and the CDA competencies. Okay, next slide, please. So this is just a little bit more about the coaching companion itself, because sometimes the coaching companion can be confusing because there are a few versions of it floating around. Let me put it that way. The one that I'm talking about today is the campus edition, which is free for all institutions of higher ed who join the Alliance. And that, as I said, that coaching companion and the assignments are embedded right in the LMS or can be attached to a local institution's own LMS. We also have a Head Start coaching companion, which is also free and available online. So even if you're not a member of the Alliance, you could access that version of it. It's on the ECE. It's also on Early Educator Central. So states, PD organizations can also use that. Now we have worked with some states, and you'll hear about some of that work in just a bit, to customize the coaching companion with something we call the Coach and Educator Community Interface. And that's really for states who are looking to embed a very specific set of standards or other competencies that they want to use to really assess how their workforce is progressing along a pathway. So think about, for instance, an apprenticeship program that might have very unique things that their educators have to demonstrate or complete, assignments, professional development resource folders, etc., that can be built into the system as well. Next slide. We also offer system supports, and although this isn't usually what brings people to us, usually it's access to the courses and the video sharing platforms. The faculty trainer supports are really impactful. And one of the things that we've learned through our impact studies is just how isolated a lot of early childhood education faculty feel on their campuses, right? All of us across the country know that early childhood education degrees are, they're at a challenging time. It's difficult for many institutions of higher ed to support early childhood degree programs when they are also faced with a mandate to produce degrees that support a livable wage, and some of their accreditation and other measurements of success in colleges are based on that. And as a result, many early childhood programs have been eliminated, or perhaps are relying entirely on adjunct faculty. And sometimes you only have one full-time faculty member in an early childhood ed program. So being connected across the country through the Early Edu Alliance has been really useful for those faculty. Also, they get access to professional development, which faculty and trainers need, just like we have to feed the professional development of our teachers so that they can be better teachers for children. We need to feed professional development of faculty and instructors so they can be there for the workforce. And so we have 2 courses that we, with supportive facilitation, that introduce the Early Edu approach. If you are an instructor or faculty member who has never used video-based assessments, for instance, or are new to delivering competency-based content in an online format, we have supports for you to walk you through that. We also have a faculty community of practice that meets monthly. And if a faculty member or an instructor is working in a institution that does not have an LMS, we also offer our Canvas LMS free of cost. We also have a PBC certification, which is really a practice-based coaching approach that sometimes faculty need some support to figure out how to shift from sort of being the deliverer of knowledge and traditional content to really facilitating students in the role of a coach. And our impact studies have really shown that shift is actually really critical to helping students take what they're learning in their content in the course and apply it in practice. So getting feedback on video, getting feedback on practice is critical. And so we offer the certificate as well as support to help faculty get comfortable in that role. Next slide, please. So let me share now a few examples of how this has worked with states. And I was trying to keep up with all of the attendees joining, but if we have any folks on here from Mississippi, Utah, or Pennsylvania, you're about to be highlighted. So these slides can't possibly do justice to the amazing work you've done. So if you have thoughts or comments or things you want to add in the chat, please do. I know I saw Tara on here from Pennsylvania, so I'm hoping she'll chime in, but others should as well. I'll start with Mississippi. This particular example, although we began working with them in 2018, is still incredibly relevant because what Mississippi innovated around was leveraging existing resources to meet the needs of an incumbent workforce that was faced with new qualifications, new qualification requirements. Mississippi legislature required that teachers have at least 12 credit hours in early childhood education to work in their state public pre-K programs. And what that meant was that a large number of those pre-K teachers already in the workforce were going to lose their jobs if they didn't have affordable access to something to help them meet that. So we worked with Mississippi to really help them use existing content from the Early Edu course catalog. They, in particular, focused on the language and literacy course that we offer. And they paired that with some face-to-face learning through what they call a boot camp experience, as well as year-long coaching to really combine to meet that 12 credit need. And what happened as a result was that folks were able to access online this coursework, get coaching, and come together in that bootcamp experience to really fairly quickly meet these requirements. And as of 2020, Mississippi had successfully pushed more than 300 teachers through this program to help them retain their qualifications and continue to work in the settings where they were working, public pre-K. And so the characteristics of those teachers could be anything from a public school teacher who already had a teaching endorsement, not in early childhood education, or folks who were assisting in those classrooms and had no degree or credentialing thus far. And so again, they very quickly rallied leveraging existing resources to fill that need. Let's go to the next example, which is Utah, I think. Yes, so Utah, also incredibly innovative. Their focus was all about increasing access. So they had multiple groups across their state of non-traditional students already in the workplace who needed access to low-cost, low-barrier college credits. They had a collective group across systems to support their efforts. So their Head Start Association, their Office of Child Care, their State Board of Education, and their higher ed system all came together to design an affordable pathway. They used 3 existing courses from Early Edu, the Child Development and Brain Building, Positive Behavioral Supports, and Language and Literacy to put together these 3 credit courses. They had an existing system to deliver through the Utah Education Network's own Canvas platform, so they didn't need that support from us. But they took those courses, used their own network, and worked across their higher ed system to find a faculty member who was already using the Early Edu content, who would act as a mentor across the state to folks who were delivering these courses. And then they also worked with Southern Utah University to create an arrangement where, because the state systems were paying for the faculty, because the content was free and available, and because the delivery system was available, the only cost was for students who wanted to transcribe their experience into college credit. And that cost folks $63 to do that. So for less than $70, students were able to get 3 credits for each of these courses, which is pretty amazing if you work in higher ed to make that happen. So the next slide is Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has so many things going on. This will definitely not do justice. So Tara, definitely weigh in the chat if you want to. But essentially, their focus was really, they had a lot of training opportunities, a lot of CDA training and other, but a lack of any of that kind of adding up to anything for their workforce. They wanted the training and the professional development they were supporting through their quality funds to lead to a credential or a degree. And so their focus was really around articulation. What Pennsylvania did that was so smart was bring together higher ed thought partners from the start, because they knew that that was going to be critical to their end goal. They worked with higher ed to think about what it would take to have content that could be delivered and articulate. And that did bring them to some of the early edu content. They don't use the early edu content exclusively, but in those places where those courses are being used, there's consistency of course content across those institutions. Because the content is aligned to the NAEYC standards, it helps to support articulation because those are the same standards that their higher ed programs are working toward. They also supported faculty professional development and used the early edu Canvas LMS to as something available to the system to help students demonstrate competency in real time. We also provided them with technical assistance just to think through how all these systems were going to work together. They use our courses and they adapt them to meet their needs. So for instance, although Pennsylvania has adopted the NAEYC standards, they also have one additional set of standards around health and safety that is really critical to their state and important. And so they were able to flexibly build a model that relied on existing resources, but also tailored to meet their own needs. And what resulted was really overall lower cost for students, for higher ed and for their professional development organizations. They were able to reallocate some of their quality dollars through a competitive process where folks competed to deliver this content aligned with this mission toward articulation goals. They also ended up with an aligned CDA to AA to BA pathway, and more recent work has been to embed all of this in an apprenticeship job embedded model so that they are beginning to work out how job embedded experience and demonstration of competence can also lead to credit, which is incredibly innovative. And we are currently also working with that state right now to develop sort of an alternative credential at each level of the NAEYC standards. So, you know, through Power to the Profession and the incredible work of that group, we have now national levels. We have level 1, which is basically akin to a CDA, level 2, which approximates an associate degree, and level 3, which approximates a bachelor's degree. And what Pennsylvania is doing is thinking about how they can create innovative pathways to each of those. And so keep watching Pennsylvania because they are going to continue to do some amazing work. And so those are the 3 examples I brought today. There are so many more, but I want to just pause to leave time for questions. I see one in the chat right now about, has early edu ever been used with a tribal nation? And absolutely. We are currently working with Fond du Lac Tribal Community College, and we have several others that are that take sort of what we call the loose parts of early edu, the media library, the content, but they adapt it. They adapt it to ensure cultural relevance. And so, for instance, at Fond du Lac, they are actually embedding their own video that is taken in their community with, you know, tribal life ways and practices highlighted, and then using that in our courses. So absolutely, we partner with them. I would say with our tribal colleges and universities, though, we are really more of a secondary partner. The tribal colleges, they lead the way. They know what is going to be relevant and what isn't for their community. So we provide the tech support, we provide background sort of systems, but they really lead and modify the content in ways that work for them. I have lost track of the questions, so if somebody could lob them to me, I'd be happy to answer. They're moving quickly now.
I'll pick out the last one and then we'll work our way backwards. But
Okay.
there's a question about if the courses and materials are available in multiple languages.
Yes, well, I will say Spanish. I mean, primarily what our courses, not all of them, but the ones that are translated are in Spanish. We do have one set of PD modules that are not quite ready for public dissemination, but very close. They're being offered in Washington State right now, being piloted, that are in Somali. And we are working with our partners in Chile to continue to translate multiple courses right now. So primarily Spanish, Somali, and we are also working on translating into Chinese Mandarin, I believe is the other language we're focused on right now.
Great, thank you. Jennifer, do you mind addressing the question about if any of these programs have been used to support parents in becoming early childhood educators?
Oh, yes, Katie, I would love to. When we're going to talk about resources in a minute, we have some examples from states that have used apprenticeships to support family members. And that resource is on the last slide, and I can call people's attention to it then. But parents are such a critical part of the workforce. And, you know, some of our parents that come into the apprenticeships are actually working themselves at other jobs at the same time. And so if they're desirable, if their desires to come into the early education workforce, they can come into an apprenticeship program and work for that opportunity, either in Head Start or childcare. Thanks, Katie.
Absolutely. And then there was a question also about conversations about using CEUs as an innovative pathway for early childhood education staff. And I'll take a short bit of that to start and also let you know that there's a resource we shared called the IPD, which is Individualized Professional Development. It's a suite of training modules that in some cases can be used for CEUs. And we have some partnerships with states to approve them for required professional development as well. So that's just one of the resources that have a pathway that's created towards CEUs leading to education attainment. Allison, do you have anything to add with that?
No, I don't think so. I think you captured it perfectly.
Okay, great. There's a few more. So we have a question, does the benefit of lower costs for higher ed mean fewer investments in qualified faculty? That's a great question. Allison, do you want to field that?
Yeah, no, I mean, well, no, I don't think so. I think that would only occur if we were partnering with an institution of higher ed that didn't have faculty available, and then we could potentially deliver the courses for them. But what that really means is that because there are no textbook costs, there's no cost to develop new courses or to stand up an LMS or even to train faculty in how to use the online resources, that most institutions of higher ed can then pass those savings on through tuition. Lower tuition is really where we see the savings, so that the course, the access to the courses is available at lower tuition. That's what we mean by that point. Good question. Good clarification.
Absolutely. And then there's a question about if the courses have been used with high schools or career tech programs for dual credit.
Oh yes, Pennsylvania is doing that. Of course, Pennsylvania is innovative. And their first pathway and focus is on that high school to CDA articulation. I should have mentioned that. Yes, and I think that is true in more than just Pennsylvania. There are many states in our impact study that responded to our survey that said that they use pieces of the courses or even the module, the professional development modules to supplement or enhance their career technical education curriculum for early childhood education in high school and CTE.
Great. And do I understand correctly that there are other states that are doing these efforts as well with the high school dual credit?
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. I know that Georgia is looking at that. I know that, I don't know if they're using Early Edu. Actually, I should clarify that. We are just initially talking to them. Montana, Utah, all of these states are thinking about more and more beginning at that high school level. I think, you know, in response to the challenges to recruitment. And because the content is practice-based and really students are completing assignments based on work they're doing every day in their work, it makes it's a nice model for career and technical education, which tends to be competency-based and more hands-on.
Wonderful.
So something, Katie, that I was thinking about as Allison was talking was this idea of, if I'm on this webinar and maybe I'm a family child care professional, and I'm thinking, oh, how do I get connected to something that sounds like it's developed for like either the PD system or the higher ed system? And I want to make sure that everyone on the call feels really empowered to share these materials and to engage in the conversation with your state leaders, with the organizers who are focused on PD, with your local community college. We should, none of us, be afraid to just walk through the door and say, what are you doing for our workforce? We are essential. We are keeping our country moving even during these tenuous times. And here's a resource, or here are some people out there who can provide technical assistance to support us. So we're really hoping that people who are on these webinars each month really feel like they have some information in their back pockets to help form the innovative change that's happening in their communities. So I was wondering, Allison, Katie, and Jennifer, if you have any other ideas of how to help people think about ways that they can use this information to inspire pieces of their system to change.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what you said is great, Laura, but I also want to note that these resources can be used at the program level too. So if I'm a family child care provider who's part of a family child care network, or if I'm a coach at a program and I need resources, I need, you know, video clips or tip sheets, resources, reflective assignments to build into my in-service with staff, or a staff meeting, or a coaching reflection circle, you can use these. You don't have to be at an institution of higher ed. You don't have to be a PD systems leader. Obviously, we would love that because it spreads systems transformation, which is what we want ultimately. But even individuals can benefit from these and use them in their ongoing work to just really support educators wherever they are.
You know, and just quickly, Laura, I might add, for Head Start programs, as well as some childcare programs, you know, that are doing presentations on economic mobility for families, they can reach out to their community partners at the community college level or at the university level and have them come and be presenters at some of those events. So family members become connected to those links in the community. So there's lots of ways to build on our partnerships and helpers, as well as Allison said, using these right within the program for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably time to turn our attention over to these last few slides on resources. Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you for those of you that put your questions in the chat and gave us that opportunity to respond. And we'll look at the additional ones as we're finishing up here. So on this slide, we see highlighted resources, and the March Workforce Wednesday e-blast that came out last week included tons of resources that would be useful for you, but we want to just highlight just a few for today. And you'll see on this slide, the first one is successful inclusion of family child care providers in higher ed degree programs. And this helps you discover strengths, tips, and resources on how to successfully include family childcare providers in higher ed degree programs. The next one is creating equity for and within the early childhood workforce, such an important topic. And this is a thought-provoking brief from Teach, and it provides a summary background and data as well as policy recommendations to support equity. That third one is the early childhood workforce career pathway goals and strategies. And you learn here how to articulation work connects to 2 recommendations from transforming the workforce for children birth through 8, and then unifying foundations report. It's kind of a big topic, but it explores strategies that help develop and support state articulation goals. So that one's kind of a systems level one. The last 2 are really around families and parents. And the first one is apprenticeships and alternative workforce development strategy. And as I spoke earlier, this is an example. It's a webinar and shares information about 2 state models that support early educators as they earn a degree while working. And the last one is connecting parents to apprenticeship programs. And it links all of these resources together and plays a central role in connecting families with such programs. Okay. So Laura, I think you wanted to talk about an additional resource about our workforce web page.
Absolutely. Thanks for being patient while I lost a little internet connection. But we do have this amazing resource on the ECD website that is broken up into different categories so that you can quickly navigate to the resource that's right for you around resources. So not only resources that we've shared today, but also resources across any kind of workforce initiative that supports the ongoing retention of our amazing workforce, but also recruiting new workforce members. So we hope that everyone will visit this website, grab resources from it, and then also access their technical assistance centers as needed to support your initiatives. So I think we have a quick evaluation that I'll ask everyone to participate in so we can just make sure that we stay on target with your needs. So we're hoping that this information has improved your understanding or awareness of some of the ways in which we can improve our education and career pathways. So I'd love to hear kind of where you are with your understanding. And we're also really wanting to know how likely you are to use information that we've had from this conversation. So please make sure that you quickly access that evaluation poll for us so we can make sure that our webinars are on target for all of you. I want to take a second to thank the panelists, Katie, Jennifer, and Allison for sharing your expertise and knowledge. Please remember that we are out there and can always answer your questions and support you. If you work for a state, territory, tribe in the CCDF lead agency or an OHS lead agency, you're aware of how to reach us for technical assistance. We will post this webinar along with the PowerPoint on the ECD website for people. And so we really do hope that you can access it and share it with other people. So any other last thoughts from our panelists as we end just a minute shy of our end time?
I think just a big thank you. I know everyone on this call is supporting or is a part of the early childhood profession, and everything that you do is so meaningful. And we really, really appreciate all your efforts, both to support your staff and to support our children and families.
Thank you, Katie. Again, thank you, Katie, Jennifer, and Allison. We appreciate you, but we mostly appreciate everyone on this call and the work you do each and every day to support children and families in your community. The world is a better place for each and every one of you, and we are so humbled to be able to support you. So thank you, and we'll see you next month with another webinar. Take care.